I've been here for a month and a half now, and it's just been a great experience. And he found out about this camp, and so he told me I should come back since I came to the Simplot games because I want to have more exposure to my sport, and I want to go to college for this sport. So that's why I'm here. Yeah. I'm a shot put and discus thrower. It's very interesting because back home I have a coach, but it's not very serious in Hawaii. Right. But I want to take this to the next level. So coming here was the best experience I've ever had because now these coaches are talking to me and showing me what I need to do and showing me the right technique. So it's just I'm very blessed. Yeah, the coaches, I've really talked to the throwing coach, Coach Williams, and he's really nice. And he's just been telling me about just how I need to set my form. And I think he brought in some of his athletes and now they're throwing in college and they're just giving me a lot of advice. And I like the one-on-one kind of coaching, and it's very good here.
Grew up in Oregon. I made the Olympic team in 1968, 50 years ago. I was an engineering student at Oregon State, and I was NC2A champion 2 times, but everything changed at the 68 Olympics when I introduced my new technique that no one had ever seen before. That's when kids started adopting the Fosbury flop. It's 50 years old now, or more than that. I started it in high school in Medford, Oregon, and basically I ran with a J approach, so part of it's straight, part of it's on the curve. When I got to the bar, I turned my back to the bar so that I could arch over the bar. And it's simply a much more efficient technique that enables the jumper to maximize their height. So it's going for height, but without an implement.
Yeah, it's all in the legs.
Sure. In the legs and in the mind. The reason that we do track camps is clinics or camps are expertise in the individual events. Track coaches in the high school, junior high, middle school level have 15 different events. It's a huge challenge to have expertise in all of them. My coach was a champion hurdler, so I ran the highs and I high jumped. He didn't know that much about the high jump, so he left me alone, other than to make sure that I was training, but he allowed me to find my own technique. And so coming to a clinic or camp, you get expertise. So we talk about technique, we talk about training to get them in condition and stronger and fitter, more flexible. And we also we make a point of telling stories, because I never met an Olympian or professional athlete when I was growing up in Oregon, and the kids need to hear that we've all lost. The perfect athlete's never been born. We learn from our mistakes. Olympians are stubborn. They never quit. They have a serious attitude, commitment, and dedication to what they're doing. So we try to teach by example and explain to them, what characteristics they need to have to improve their own performances. So commitment and dedication, persistence, and it's all about attitude. You need to have a good time. You need to stay healthy. When you're injured, you need to rest and recover. The first day of practice, he sees me scissoring. I'm the only one still using this old style, this old technique. And he comes over, kind of chews me out, but I explain to him, no, this is what I've been using and this is what I know. He informed me that I wouldn't be able to compete and keep up with the other kids with that old style, it's limiting. I needed to change. So he offered to teach me to how to do the Western roll, the old belly roll, which in those days everybody used. It was the classic technique. And so I started over, and I was awful. The very first meet, I failed 3 times at the opening height, which was only 5 feet. Not very good. And so I kept at it, kept working at it, gradually improved to clear 5.4, but I could scissor 5.4. So I went back to coach, expressed my frustration. He understood because he saw the poor performances. And I asked him if I could have permission to use the scissor again, try to boost my confidence and get a better mark. He said, well, don't give up what you're trying to learn, but it's your choice. So he opened the door, I went through it and went back to the scissors, got in the meet. I was desperate, highly motivated. I hated to lose. And so got up, they raised the bar to 5.6, which I'd never cleared before. So I knew I had to do something different to get my hips, my rear end over the bar. And I had to get my body out of the way, so I leaned back and raised my hips, and I made it. They raised the bar to 5.8. I leaned back further and made that. Eventually, I cleared 5.10, improved a half a foot in one day, by adapting the scissors into a different form. And I modernized it. I went over the bar horizontal, but I was upside down from everybody else. So I started from a different place because I was using a different style. And it was a process. From that first day for the next 2 years in high school, I started to lead with my shoulder to go over the bar a little bit quicker. Eventually, senior year, I'm turning my back to the bar, arching over the bar, and the development was complete. So it was a 2-year process. And like with any innovation, as long as you improve with your results, then they'll allow you to continue. But you constantly have to test whether doing something different may or may not work. But if it's successful and you continue to improve, it all worked out, and I discovered what everybody uses today. Some of it is the history of sport matters, what I've learned, and so it's good to give these young kids context. A lot of them already know who I am because their coach or their parents tell them.
Right.
But there's always a bunch who get there, they don't know that there's some guy that invented this technique. They only know what they were told to do, or they saw what everybody else is doing. So giving them a perspective is good, just so they have an understanding. But the most important lesson is trying to learn why we adjust their technique and coach them in a certain way in order to improve their performance. They're motivated. Half of these kids have been to Simplot games. The other half haven't. Why do they come to track camp? Because they've heard about it from their friends, from the coach, from the parents, and it's a quality environment for them to try to improve their skills. So it doesn't matter if you're doing sports or theater or academics. Learn from the best and learn how to apply yourselves and apply basic principles to find your own peak performance and find what you love. 75% physical, 25% mental. when they reach the elite level, they've had the foundation of training, and then it's 90% mental.
Classic athletic posture, okay?
All right, next group, ready, go. Yeah, roll up, push off, good. Shelby, be quick, okay? It's a little bit harder, okay? But you still kind of want to roll and push.
That's what you do in the high jump. You don't come up to the high jump on your takeoff foot and stop. You bound off of it, so it's a rebound effect.
Here. Then by the time you get here, you got about 5 more steps. Go right through that hurdle. It is not even there. Okay? Think of that hurdle, or think of that as something you hate. Somebody is sitting up there swinging, like going, hey, hey. You can't stand them. Or maybe it's a geometry thing.
Set. Set.
Beautiful. Love it. Nice job. Yes. Arm straight.
That.
Your middle.
Curve it, yeah.
Arm straight.
So now we're gonna legit fall in. All into it, and you're gonna go out, all out to the start. You're gonna all actually go for it. Now I'm gonna say go, okay? Right here, and then take your time. Take your time towards. Oh, I thought he was going all the way down there. I was like, oh my god. No, just me. Go.
Okay, and then what you're gonna do is you're gonna do trail leg circles. Okay, so you're just gonna do a bunch of trail leg repeats, if you will. Okay, so that's where I want to work on the form. Your knees doing it again. You see what I'm saying? All right, lift it up right there. Yeah. It'll start working on that flexibility.